Hey, crypto family. So it looks like today we've had a little bit of a market correction, seeing as most of the coins are in the red with a few being in the green, such as Bitcoin Cash up 3%, and then Ethereum Classic actually up nearly 8% to $24.51. And that's following some news that its investment trust has been approved following protocol upgrades. So Grayscale Investments actually approved the Ethereum Classic Investment Trust by the U.S. Financial Industry Regulatory Authority for a public quotation on the OTC market. So that's some big news, and that's why Ethereum Classic has been leading most of the coins today. So, hopefully you have some. If not, maybe looking at picking some up on a dip. And other than that, there's one other coin that's been doing pretty good, and that's actually called Digix DAO, and that's up 5%. And for those who don't know, this coin is kind of like if you hold one of this coin, then you hold some gold as well. They tie it to gold, so a lot of people will buy this coin if Bitcoin dips. It doesn't happen all the time, but I would say about 75% of the time you'll see this coin rise when the market is in a decline. So just keep an eye on that one. But regarding why Bitcoin is declining as well as other coins, I think it's a couple reasons. One of them is, we were on a nice rally here, nearly hit 10,000. There was a lot of optimism in the market, and I think one, it was just all that optimism, there had to be some consolidation. Two, it's a Sunday. Usually on the weekends, there tends to be some sideways movement, maybe some bearish movement. And then third, I think actually the main reason why it's down today is speculation over the SEC hearing tomorrow regarding if Ethereum is going to be classified as a security. So in the United States, they're actually going to hold a SEC hearing, and basically what's been going on is there's been a lot of controversy as, labeling different cryptocurrencies as securities if they're not, and exactly, what they're defined as. So they're going to talk about Ethereum because it's the main, that has a spotlight on it for being the basis for all ICOs. And basically what they say here is, it says the cryptocurrency is subject to looming inquiry by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the Commodity Futures Exchange Commission for its token presale in 2014. Basically what it says here is they raised, about $300 million price as of today, and the regulators are concerned that the presale itself could be classified as security sale due to the fact that investors likely bought tokens in hopes that their value would increase in the future. If this is found to be the case, the Ethereum Foundation should have registered Ethereum as a security before the token sale was carried out in 2014. And it says SEC and CFTC regulators are due to meet May 7th, which is tomorrow, to discuss the appropriate course of action. Another focal point is the influence that the Ethereum Foundation holds over the cryptocurrency. So there's been a lot of talk about it, and basically everyone's under the assumption that Ethereum is not a security. And I'll give you a couple reasons why I agree with that. So it says, at the beginning of May, Ethereum Foundation co-founder Joseph Lubin addressed a situation at a tech conference in New Orleans. Lubin confidently stated that there were no concerns that the cryptocurrency would be classified as a security. And he quotes here, "We spent a tremendous amount of time with lawyers in the US and in other countries, and are extremely comfortable that it is not a security. It was never a security. Many regulators that matter understand what Ethereum is." It says, furthermore, Lubin believes that Ethereum does not need to be regulated because it does not meet the classifications of a security at all. So let's go over the definition of what a security is. So they have this thing called the Howey test. Basically in 1946, there was this case, and the outcome of it became called as the Howey test. And simply, this guy named W.J. Howey Company, it said it sold a portion of its citrus farm to investors who bought the land in the interest of earning profits from the citrus farming operation. It was eventually deemed to have been a securities contract by the Supreme Court because of this definition given by the Justice Murphy. And this definition is, the scheme involves an investment of money in a common enterprise with profits to come solely from the efforts of others. And it says, in layman's terms, the Howey test is used to determine if the value of a transaction between two parties is dependent on one of the parties' work. This very test has been the subject of much speculation when it comes to cryptocurrencies and especially initial coin offerings. And I'm going to tell you why Ethereum is not a security. There's a couple reasons why it doesn't meet this classification. So it says arguments against security classification. In the case of Ethereum, Lubin is of the opinion that it is not a security for two reasons. Firstly, the Ethereum's blockchain requires miners to validate transactions, create new blocks, and unlock Ethereum tokens. Libin believes the fact that many parties are involved in the work creating value rules out of classification as a security. And he quotes, "I think we already have a regulatory scheme. Securities laws in this country govern securities. If you fail the Howey test, you're not a security. This is a way of accessing a shared compute resource, so I'm not sure Ethereum needs to be regulated in any way." So basically, long story short, the reason Ethereum isn't, can't really be classified as security is because it's not just the Ethereum team that is generating the profits and everything. I mean, you have the miners, you have everyone else who's involved, so it's a multiple party operation. It's not just one person. So I think that in itself, it fails the Howey test, and that should in itself should dismiss it as not being a security. So I thought that was a great reason that he put right there. And there's also, it says the Ethereum Foundation head Aya Miyaguchi diffused any talk of the organization's influence over the value of the cryptocurrency. He stated that the foundation does not control the supply or issuance of Ethereum, and its own holding of Ethereum amounts to 1% of the total supply, which is in fact lower than the amounts held by other users in the network. So that right there, I mean, they're telling themselves that they don't even control, the total supply of Ethereum. I mean, 1%, whereas there's holders that have, way over 1%. So that should tell you in itself that they're not, a sole proprietor. They're not controlling the operation. There's multiple parties involved, and that's why it doesn't pass the Howey test. So now turn on the other side. Let's say that the SEC does label Ethereum as a security. So what does that mean for everyone? So it says, if the SEC chooses to label Ethereum as a security, the foundation will likely take the matter to the courts. This could end up in a legal battle that could last a number of years. And it says, this lawyer, Dean Steinbeck, he's a U.S. corporate lawyer, and he says, quote, "However, the SEC is pragmatic. It would be a mistake, in my opinion, for the SEC to go after Ethereum for a couple of reasons. First, Ethereum is not a bad actor. There are plenty of fraudsters and con artists the SEC should be focusing on. Why focus SEC time and resources going after the good guys? Second, there are nuances in the way the Ethereum platform utilizes its tokens that may allow it to fail the Howey test. I don't think the SEC can risk losing an enforcement action of this magnitude at this stage." So basically he says, the SEC is putting all this effort into it. Why not just go after the people who are actually doing illegal stuff versus Ethereum that's just trying to better the crypto community. So I think he, offered some valid points there. And he also quoted, "Mine tokens versus those issued in an ICO are less likely to qualify as securities. In fact, I think the CFTC will take the position that mine tokens are commodities and should be treated as such. So again, since Ethereum is being mined, it should be classified as a commodity versus a security. So I think that's another great point there." And then it says, what if, so again, what if the SEC classifies it as a security? How is that going to affect companies, exchanges, and everything? So it says, if Ethereum is found to be a security, a number of things could happen. First, the price of the cryptocurrency would take a knock, as American exchanges would be traded as security, which they would need to have registered for with the SEC. Trading would have to be stopped in order to do so. Second, failing to comply with securities laws can have serious ramifications, including fines, penalties, and civil litigation by damaged purchasers or selling of the security. So basically, there would be a lot of fines. All the exchanges that trade Ethereum would have to stop trading of it. They would have to register it under the SEC, and they would have to go through a lot of regulations and everything, which would, be detrimental to a lot of the trading and cryptocurrency in general. So I think that, it wouldn't be good if that happens. And I think there's a very, very small percentage chance that that could happen. And basically it says also, certain ICOs that were built on the Ethereum blockchain could face penalties at the very least. So again, there's all this, speculation going on about if Ethereum is going to be classified as a security or not. And, it's been running successfully for over 3 years. And its market capitalization shows its worth as a revolutionary blockchain technology. So, it has a positive impact on the community. I don't see why they would ruin that by really, labeling it as a security. So I think this is, just another FUD, kind of ahead of any meetings because there is uncertainty with it and you don't know what's going to happen. So I think that was a big reason why we've had the fall here. Just, again, some panic and people not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. So hopefully we get some good news out of it, and hopefully that good news will propel us past 10,000. And last article I want to cover here is actually an angel investor who gathered 10,000 Bitcoins during the bear market of Q1 2018. So this guy here, he's a Chinese angel investor, Kai Wensheng, I may be saying that wrong. He said in an interview that he had achieved a personal goal of holding 10,000 Bitcoin. So basically what happened is Wensheng is the founder of a selfie touch app called Meitu, which is immensely popular in China. He's also an angel investor with a net worth of $1.5 billion, which is a lot of money. So he revealed his involvement in cryptocurrencies. Basically, he got involved in January of 2018, where he only had 1 or 2 Bitcoin. But then, once he studied it and he really realized the potential of Bitcoin and the blockchain, then he set a goal to acquire 10,000 Bitcoin. So while the price was high at the time, he stated that, he would wait until the price declined, which when Bitcoin went to low of 6,000, he kept buying on the decline. And he finally reached his goal in just under 4 months. Then it mentioned the coins he holds here as well. Ontology, Cortex, ArcBlock, Zipper, Yeecall, DXChain, and Charter. Now, he states that the current state of cryptocurrencies, he compares it to the early stages of the dot-com boom. So those who don't know what the dot-com boom, basically, as we approached 2000, you had all these dot-coms coming out. The internet was fairly new. In its infancy, and basically anything with a .com attached to it, the domain name, the price surged. So you had all these people making money on these .com companies, and again, it was crazy to see. But there is a crash near 2000, and basically only a few companies survived. And he says investors who bet on the right companies that survived the crash made unimaginable returns. So he compares that to now, whereas maybe some of the top 50 coins are going to survive the crash, but those coins are going to, skyrocket like no other. Because realistically, all 1,500 coins can't survive. There's only going to be about 100 or so that are going to, really last the test of time. So, he recommends investing in those companies and those protocols that are going to, have a strong team backing them and have strong technology that will last them through the next 10, 20, 100 years. So further, he mentions he says he cautions investors to do their own research, and basically just because he invested in a company doesn't mean other people should do so as well. And then when asked about the market crash in March, he dismissed it as no big deal, and he called it a short-term setback, and in fact cryptocurrencies rose very well in the long term. And then he also reminds people that in March of 2017, price of Bitcoin is around $1,000. And March of this year, the lowest price it went to was 6,000, which is still 6 times higher than it was the same time last year. So just keep that in mind when you're comparing, how prices have really skyrocketed. And then he also mentions the importance of ICOs. And it says, even though the Chinese government has blocked both cryptocurrencies and ICOs, this has not slowed down the market. Most exchanges have relocated to countries around China, and crypto trading is still thriving within China through OTC trades. China had to disable offshore exchanges using their firewall. Most analysts expect the government to reverse this ban in the future. So where I'm getting at with this story is, hey, you have all these angel investors coming into the market, even on these big downturns, and you have to ask yourself, why would someone invest $50 to $100 million in something that's, tanking, the price is decreasing? And it's because they believe in it and they see the long-term potential, of Bitcoin and the blockchain. And they're the ones that are on the inside that they know, how much, how valuable the cryptocurrency space is. So, and as well as, you have companies getting out of the country and relocating to other countries, different exchanges, and there's still over-the-counter trading going on. People are still finding ways to trade no matter if it's banned in a country or not. And, I definitely believe China will get back on board. But again, I'm kind of glad that they're out of it right now because there's a lot of FUD with China. But just showing that these investors are coming into the market shows you that there's a lot of big money coming in, but we haven't seen anything yet. We're only at 450 billion market cap, and there's people who are projecting, 10, 20, 30, even 40 trillion in the next, 20, 30 years. But I just want to bring that up, some good news there, and show you that don't get caught up in these short-term declines that we have, or when the markets tank, just keep in mind there's big investors that are buying those dips. So when people are saying buy low, sell high, they're not just saying it to say it. There's actually some good investment advice there. And of course, this isn't investment advice, it's just my opinion. But when you make the most profit whenever you buy low and sell high. So use that time. Even these dips here, use that to buy some of these dips, some coins you've been looking at, because these prices will rise again in the future, and it's just a matter of time. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment if you have any questions, and please subscribe if you haven't. Till next time, thanks for watching.